metrology that we use, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, though, the origins of metrology are unknown. We don't know where we got this, the English mile or foot or inch from. Nobody knows where it comes from. But the fact is, how he refutes that is saying, well, how do I know that they use the English mile and all that and not meters? Because when you use them, they work. In other words, when you do it that way, this whole grid comes together and speaks. We call it speaking, matches these numbers. But the moon is if you look it up, is 2,160 miles in diameter. Here's Stonehenge in its location telling you the diameter of the moon. And we know, and some people thought Stonehenge predicted a lunar eclipse and had something to do with the moon.
Yes.
So there's these alignments. It's called archaeoastronomy, which I'm heavily into also, and I filmed a site near here in California, an archaeoastronomy site where a light dagger comes into this cave and shines on these concentric circles. But anyways, I'm getting way off the subject. So Carl is the one who discovered the Earth grid by multiplying the longitudes and latitudes. And his work is extensive, and he's written like 5 or 6 books, and he has some videos, and the guy is an absolute genius. He's also very interesting to talk to. He's just one of these people you could talk to him for hours and hours and hours. He's very, very smart. And so, like I said, I had met him through the symbols that were presented to me, and I somehow found him. And when I showed him the circles and the work with music, he said, this is interesting. That got us talking. But Carl Monk is definitely credited for this. And it's funny because a lot of, talk about, being suppressed or whatever. He definitely has been. I mean, he has sent his work out to, professors and all over the world and stuff, and very few people can even understand his work, which is strange because it's very simple. The math, he's not using trigonometry or anything. This is simple multiplying and subtracting and very actually simple math, but because a lot of the world is sort of math dumb, and in fact I was as well. I was never, ever into math before I got into this, or into numbers or anything like that. But he's the one who discovered this. And I think if you were to ask him, I think similarly he sort of was called in a way, and I think I may be wrong about this, he had a dream or something like that also that got him started into it.
Fascinating. And if I understand, the work that he's been doing, in a way, it's also about connecting all of these different megalithic sites, monuments, natural mounds even in some instances, and man-made mounds as well, and connecting them in a grid work that actually makes them that there is a ratio and between them, so to speak. There is a language, or obviously then a code, right, that is incorporated into all of these different sites across the world, right?
Yes. Native American Indian mounds are included. These burial mounds, maybe they somehow knew to bury, their people on a certain spot on the grid on the world, much like, the pyramids were supposedly tombs, and they buried people in these pyramids. Why? Why these certain sites? And again, I think it's frustrating to try to figure out why they did this without looking further at it of, the actual work. Like, what does this mean? Does it have to do with music? But yes, you're correct. He discovered all these different sites, mainly pyramids, yes, and mounds and burial mounds and certain megalithic structures all over the world that seem to produce these same numbers through their location. So that's what's so fascinating, is that something or someone had, satellite, was able to map the world. And as we know, we didn't have that back then when these things were built. We didn't have satellites or this kind of extensive mapping. So somehow, whether it be, I asked one time my father about this, who gave me a pretty good logical answer, that they could have calculated all this through the stars, the position of the stars. But wow, I mean, that would have to be probably thousands of years of research to somehow figure this out, by the stars.
Yes.
I'm more leaning towards there was some sort of advanced civilization. And Carl, too, thinks it was probably Atlanteans or some sort of advanced civilization. Then again, it could have been intelligent beings from another part of the universe or from another planet or whatever that were mapping out the grid points of the Earth. Who really knows? But we do know it's there.
Yes.
And that's the thing that people should be looking at and saying, oh, my God, here's a real mystery that no one can figure out, no one can answer, but we know it's there. It's sort of irrefutable, the way, if you really look at Carl's work. And the same thing with my work. I sent it out to, different professors and music experts and math experts, and then there seems to be, they say, usually go, this is very interesting and it's provable, but I just don't understand it. So I think that's where maybe this comes in, this being called or whatever you want to call it, or having an epiphany or having the interest in it. Carl has said that it seems like there's a block maybe on certain people, I guess,
yes,
that maybe say, I can't understand this because maybe they're not supposed to, or maybe it's just laziness and they don't want to take the time to learn, a few different subjects.
Right.
Who knows? But to me, it's the work. It's very simple. It's not complicated. The music theory, I think, is harder than the math.
Well, you know what, James? I don't think it's kind of the structure of your discovery, so to speak, or how complicated the discovery is. I think it's more about the implication of the discovery, and that might be something that actually is quite scary and terrifying even to some people, especially I would reckon scholars and people that have been looking into either history or archaeology or something like that, and they've been studying for years and years with their diplomas and whatnot. And all of a sudden, someone comes from the outside, right, with information that totally knocks everything that they've been studying for so many years off the feet and shatters their kind of worldview and everything that they've been working for all this time. So unfortunately,
true, very true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's the vibe that I get. Yes. Also, people don't